Dacha Hao, Wosha Michael Larson, Wosha Neiman Depung you. Hello, everybody. This is Mike Larson for BBC IML, and this is a moment with Mike. I am in the car. I didn't quite make it home for the 7 o'clock, but I think we could do it from here. Got my Titleist cap on today, but I was going to talk a little bit about must versus should today. And it's a little story about that from when I was a kid, as a family. We were out on our boat, and it was a beautiful summer day. It was 75 degrees and sunny and calm. It was on Lake Superior, and Lake Superior can be kind of a tough lake if the wind is blowing. But it was nice and calm, and we were out fishing all day as a family. My father, my mother, and my two sisters. I was about 5 years old at the time, maybe even a little younger than that. And I had two older sisters, both 3 years apart. But at any rate, we were out fishing. We were having a great day. And we fished all day until about dinner time, about 6 o'clock. And there was a restaurant on one of the islands out there called Rocky Island. And there was a dock you could go in and you could pull up. And we would often stop in there for egg sandwiches. And so we stopped into the dock, and we went in, and as a family, we had egg sandwiches. And then afterwards, we came back out and we played around a little bit on the beach, but then we had to head back into Bayfield, the marina, so that we could go home for the evening. And we were going to drive out of the dock, and the boat wouldn't go in forward. It would only go in reverse. So we tried several times. My father tried several times to get it going, and we couldn't go, only in reverse. So fortunately, it was a cabin cruiser, so we had a cabin and everything there, and he got out his tools, and he tried to work on the engine and get it going, but just couldn't seem to get it going in forward. So we decided to spend the night. And in Lake Superior, you have typically, it's a northwest wind or a northeast wind that would bother you. So if you're on the south side of the island, it's rare that you get a strong wind out of the south. So the boat was, the back of the boat was facing the lake, and normally you'd want to have the bow facing the lake. But my father figured, well, what are the chances that we would actually get a south wind that would be an issue? So we all crawled into bed and slept very well. It was nice and cozy in the cabin like we often did. We'd spend weekends out there. And all slept very well. And the next morning, I think I was the first one to wake up. And I remember the boat rocking mightily. And banging and stuff. And I was curious, so I looked outside, and sure enough, there was some huge waves coming in. And wouldn't you know, about a 60-mile-per-hour south wind had come up overnight. And just exactly what we didn't need. And I remember my mother and father getting up and putting their clothes on fast, because we had to move the boat around so the bow was facing the waves. Had to move it out the end of the dock and all the way around the end of the dock so that the bow was moving the bow was into the waves so it wouldn't get swamped. And I remember my father got to the rear of the boat, and my mother went out on the bow. And normally you wouldn't go up on the bow of the boat. That's very cold water. It's about 48-degree water that even in the middle of the summer like that. So it's very cold water. And she went out on the bow, and she kind of tried to direct the bow while my father directed the rear of the boat. And the waves were huge. They were probably 6-foot waves coming in there. And I remember my sister, my middle sister, started screaming. She got scared because we were bouncing around a lot. And I started screaming. I can imagine my oldest sister was trying to help from the inside. I can imagine what it was like for my parents outside with all that screaming. Their kids, their pride and joy was inside of this boat, and they had to save them. They had to protect them. And the action they went into was just remarkable to watch. I mean, that's not something you would normally do in that cold water, is get out there and run around outside when the rain is coming. It was raining a little bit, and the rain was coming down also. But they started to move the boat. And I remember as they were turning the boat around, my mother got knocked off the bow right into that 48-degree water. And I remember she crawled right back out of there again and grabbed the lines, and she was went back to working on that boat again. And then there was a time when we have bumpers along the side of the boat, and one of the bumpers went away. It broke or something. It was gone. And the boat went into the side of the dock, and it punched a hole in the side of the boat, up high enough it wasn't a big issue. But after that, my father stuck his arm down there to protect the boat, and it actually came in and it crushed his arm, crushed the muscle in his arm. And to this day, or to that day, to the day he died, he had that dent in his arm from that. But imagine, you wouldn't normally do that. You wouldn't normally stick your arm down in there to protect your boat. And normally you wouldn't go into the water, and if you fall in, get back out and go right back to work again. But it was the family that was inside. It was their family, their pride and joy that was inside. And so it went from being a should do it to a must. And Tony Robbins, one of my mentors, talks about that. He talks about if you want to really do things well in life, if you want to have the drive to do something, you have to turn it into a must. What people normally do is they should all over themselves. Kind of a funny statement, but it's true. But this moment was so emotional for them that there was no question what they had to do. Like I said, my father had his arm crushed trying to protect the boat. My mother fell off the bow of the boat into that cold water, jumped back out, went right back to work again. And they managed to get the boat out and all the way around so the bow was going into the waves. And they saved their family. And then later that day, I was a big fan of the Coast Guard. And I loved to watch the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard had to come out and pull our whole family back in. So all of that terror for a little bit turned into quite a good day for me. I got to ride back in the Coast Guard. But the reason I tell this story is there's many things that this is important about. You don't know what you can really do until you turn something into a must, until it's so important to you that you can turn it into a must. You can do things you never thought possible. The other thing is if you're leading a team and you need to be able to jump into action, you better care about those people that you're working with. They cared about us to the ultimate, and it was easy for them to do the things they did because they cared about that package that was in the boat. So if you can do that, if you're running a team, if you're a leader in a company, you need to find in those people what you admire, what you respect, so that you can like them. And when they need your help, there's no question about how you're going to jump into action. And that's something that you should teach your team also, is how to connect with the other people and how to see within them what is super fantastic, so that there's no question about the teams. When they need to help, they're going to turn it into a must rather than a should. So that was just a story in my life. It could have been tragedy. It really could have been tragedy. But because they understood what was important, they did things that they wouldn't normally do. And they saved their family. They made sure the family was safe. And I think, I've got 2 sisters, and I think all 3 of us remember that very well. And that really left an imprint on my life the rest of my life. I mean, I was so proud of my parents for what they did. My sister was 6 years older, my oldest sister. She's actually on this call right now. Hello, Ann. And I see Sarah's there, and I see Lynn is there. But I was proud of her, too. She jumped into action. She would run around the boat, and she was taking care of it. Once again, it was a must. It wasn't a should. So I hope you enjoyed this story. I hope this finds you well. Have a super fantastic day. If you like what you're hearing here, I will be on here at 7 o'clock every evening, unless something else comes up, and I'll let you know ahead of time for the next day. But if you like what you're hearing here, join us on Inspired Motivated Leadership on Facebook, and we've got some some programs, stuff on there that you can take advantage of. InspiredMotivatedLeadership.com you can go to also. If you have a story, or if you have something you'd like me to talk about, send me an email, Mike@InspiredMotivatedLeadership.com, or send me a message on Messenger if you're a friend of mine on Facebook. Like our Facebook page. Help us out. Let us know what you like about this. And we will talk to you soon.